blabbing your mouth for 10 minutes straight is gonna get you views, really. So again, no, I don't know how many trans videos you've made. But what I do know is that my agender wife saw your original video and was upset about it. In fact, because I'm not subscribed to you, she's the one who informed me that you made your video, and she also recently tweeted you the following. As someone who is agender, your video was hurtful. I am not a tomboy. I am not a woman who likes to be masculine. I am not confused about myself. In fact, I present femininity most of the time. Guess what? I still don't identify as a woman. While your video didn't affect how I feel about my gender, I know it would have when I was young and still questioning. That is someone who is agender telling you how hurtful your video was. And yet, instead of being a good first world cis white girl, you make a condescending, unapologetic response defending your agenderphobic actions. Your video title alone is called Two Genders. It's a 10-minute long video. It includes two non-transgender individuals, the definition of transgender including agender, talking about how agender isn't a thing. Meanwhile, agender is literally a thing, and just because you cis white girl don't see it as a thing doesn't make it any less a thing. Because of your actions, Jacqueline, you have people coming to my video commenting that there are only two genders and anything else is a sickness. Do you not understand how damaging your words were? You're literally aiding and abetting transphobia, because again, transgender includes agenders. These people who use ridiculous analogies, implying that they now identify as a lampshade, belittling the whole transgender concept, are once again, Jacqueline, on your side. If you're really on the side of transgenders, you should really check which team you're fighting for. Because with your condescending, clearly careless attitude, it doesn't seem you care about much of anyone but yourself. Here I am, having literally made that response video in the first place, because I wanted to defend my agender wife and agender people in general. Here's someone who's also upset by what you guys said. Someone pointing out that you two clearly didn't research what agender is before you talked about it. It is a real world status. This person says, as a trans boy, this video made me respect you a whole lot more. That is a trans boy defending me and not you, Jacqueline, because they too understand how hurtful and inconsiderate your video was. Jacqueline, here's yet another trans person you upset. I'm a trans woman and I love Jacqueline, but she's wrong about this. I fully identify as female and use female pronouns, but at least during my transition, really didn't identify as either gender. Being called male pronouns really upset me. Being called female pronouns made me feel extremely self-conscious about myself. Being trans is a spectrum, and not everyone identifies as one or the other. I wish cis people wouldn't tell me what gender I am, because they really have no idea what it's like to be trans, and they just need to stop pretending. Jacqueline, I think I'll leave it on that. Gender is the state of being male or female. A significant way, by definition, is based on our social constructs. But agender, the thing you very clearly disrespected in your video, is the absence of gender. So it's not imprisoned by the requirement of someone being 100% male or female, but rather agender people are allowed to be simply themselves without putting the name of male or female on it. So Jacqueline, considering all the people you've upset and how very, very clearly wrong you are considering all the facts I've presented before you, I will now be happy to see a hopefully short, genuine apology video from you. Like 100% of your videos, I will not watch it all the way through, but I'm sure a lot of people in the transgender community would appreciate a cis white girl like yourself owning up to her mistakes. Thank you.
Nowadays, people are coming up with different names for those different types of gender expressions, when in the old days we just called it being a tomboy.
Yeah.
Or just being a woman who liked to dress more.
I am. The first thing I'm supposed to do is choose a color. I'm going to choose blue, because blue is an absolutely stunning color. Now I'm supposed to pick a Beyonce. Out of all these options, I think I'll go with Run the World Beyonce, because I think it's a song about female empowerment, which you know is awesome, because it normally comes off as loving, as opposed to male empowerment, where it often comes off as hateful. Do you enjoy consensual sexual experiences with, or feel a sexual attraction to, members of the same sex as yourself? I'm gonna say hardly ever. It would be never if Handy Bear Sack and Jensen Ackles didn't exist. I know, I talk about them a lot, and there's a reason for that, because it's real. What city would you most like to live in? Oh gosh, they're all such terrible options. I guess I would say London. Then again, there's that whole Brexit thing, so I'll actually go with San Francisco. What's your drink of choice? I actually don't know what half of those are. A gin and tonic is a highball cocktail made with gin and tonic water. I mean, I guess that. No, I don't like having sex with people who are the same sex as me. What's your ideal Saturday night? I think doing something new so long as it's Netflix and chill, which is like what I do every night. We'll just say night in with Netflix. I'm noticing a trend here with these questions. Which US president do you most identify with? I'm gonna say Barack Obama, because he's like a less boring Abraham Lincoln. Favorite root vegetable? You know, it's really weird when you put the word carrot over a potato, but I'll just go with potato. If you could pick your ideal partner for a romantic date, what qualities would they have? I'm gonna say ideally the opposite sex, but if a guy showed up instead, I'd probably still want to continue the date because we're already there, so why not? Pick a weather phenomenon. I'm guessing you're gonna say something about rainbows. Yep, there it is. I'm gonna say tornado. Which sex is sexiest? Duh, women. And the conclusion is I'm a little bit gay. Onision, you are a little bit gay. I really enjoy having sexual experiences with members of the opposite sex. Although you wouldn't completely rule out sexual experiences with a member of the same sex. In general, you are physically and emotionally attracted to people of the opposite sex. But hey, you're open to the idea that maybe the one for you could be the same sex. It's all cool. Yeah, but here's the issue. I don't do anal. I would be a mouths only type of gay guy. You know, because I like everything being in good shape down there. But if men had vaginas, I'm pretty sure I would be gay. I'm an idiot. Boob squeeze.
One. Facility on.
People what they want, so here we go. One of the first things that comes to mind is bad breath. I really don't like that. Another thing that comes to mind is the word stop, that, or no, or any other words that conclude rejection. I've literally been with people who have pushed me away, and then they would get upset because I actually stopped, as if it was all some kind of game. Butt smells. Huge turnoff. It's part of the reason why I wash my butt every time I go to the bathroom. Are we on 5 now? Whatever. We'll say we're on 5. Number 5, other bad smells. Talking about people who don't wash their genitals or their body in general. Gross. Number 6, armpit hair or body hair in general. It's fine if there's a little bit, but if it's long, oh my god, gross. This applies to both men and women. Please groom yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. You're doing yourself and the world a favor. Number 7 is extreme obesity. You know damn well most everyone wants to be with someone who's in shape. So letting yourself go means you don't really care about my desires. And that would be super rude and unfair, considering I'm always going to keep myself in shape for myself. Number 8 is a poor attitude. If I say, hey, put this blindfold on, you better freaking love it. Otherwise, nothing's gonna happen, because I'll be too busy not being attracted to you anymore. A can-do attitude is the only way. The number 9 turn off. People with completely unamused facial expressions and or sounds. If you're not into it, I'm not into you. Number 10 is talking non-dirty. Things are getting intense between us. I'll be talking about my mom. I'll be talking about grocery shopping. Number 11 is butt love. I do not want to put it in your butt. That is where your poop comes from, and that is not a turn on to me. Number 12 is farting, but that one's kind of obvious. Number 13 is unflossed teeth. If I can see a bunch of crap jammed between your teeth, I'm gonna get turned off. Number 14 is butt hair. Any butt hair whatsoever is gonna gross me out. Number 15 is crappy background sounds while we're getting intense. I don't need Barney and Friends playing when we're doing it, nor do I want to hear a movie playing in the background where some chick's getting stabbed to death. Let's just turn that off. Number 16 is creepy sounds or facial expressions. I've literally had someone make this face at me when I made love to them, and I was like, geez, come on. I get that you're feeling pleasure, but could you please close your mouth? It was just stuck open and creepy like. Number 17, turn off. Not being a team player. If a guy does the 6 on you, you should do the 9 on him. It's called being polite. Number 18 is all about meaning, or the lack thereof. If making love has no love or a future in it, then it very likely won't have a me in it. I mean, what would be the freaking point? Number 19, sadism. I'm not really super into it. I think it's cool when people take pleasure out of biting, hair pulling, etc., but there's no satisfaction in legitimately hurting people. Number 20 is forced behavior. If you don't feel something, don't pretend you do. If a person's with me, I want them to be themselves, not the person they think I want them to be. If you're not in the mood, don't pretend you are. And there you have quite a few of my turnoffs. Now let's cozy up next to the fire and fall asleep. Good night.
Reasons to hit women. Some people will tell you there's no excuse to hit a woman, but if you use common sense, that's obviously not true. We believe that women and men are equal, right? So let's not take part in more hypocrisy than absolutely necessary. Let's say there's a 6-foot person and obviously a very short person, 5 feet 4 inches. Which one is the male and which one's the female? Reality check, it doesn't matter which one's the male and which one's the female. What matters is their size difference. If there's a crazy person that's bigger than another person, regardless of the gender, the bigger person can do a lot of damage. So if this person here is a man, this person here is a woman, is it okay for the man to fight back? Well, depending on where you live, legally the answer could be yes. This is me, I'm a banana. And real quick, I'm gonna give you a history of physical altercations I've had with women. The only girl I ever punched in the face was my sister. I was doing what I considered some important stuff on my computer, and my sister, because she was a terrible person at the time, decided to yank my dial-up phone cord so she could call her boyfriend. Real quick history, my sister beat me up 13 plus times in my past with her fists, and this is important to note, she was bigger than me. Only this time around I was much closer to her size, thanks to me growing up, and after I beat her up, she realized she could never bully me again. This is why I asked you guys who's the male and who's the female, because size is obviously way more important than gender. You see this tiny person here? That is a kid. See this giant person I'm drawing right here? That is an adult. The size difference alone equates to the basic logic that this person should never hit this person. As a parent myself, it is completely uncalled for. Speaking of parents, here's me and here's my mom. She was really angry with me one day, so she decided to attack me. But my mom was smaller than me, so what did she do? She grabbed a big old brick-like flashlight and decided to swing that that at me. Here's my mom. I retreated backward to my bed and she smacked me in the knee with that big old brick flashlight. So I pushed my mom away with my feet so she could no longer bash my freaking knee. Later on, guess what she tells my sister's boyfriend? That I hit her. So this big old roided out jock who plays for my high school football team sits me down and says, "You are abusive." Okay, Mr. Jock, if I'm so abusive, then why was I on my back on a bed pushing a person with a freaking weapon away with my feet, and that's it? It's literally all I did. By the way, what's considered a weapon could be anything you use to attack someone. Like a flashlight that's so big you need a handle to carry it around, which has a giant heavy battery on the inside, about 1/4 the size of a car battery. And then there was the incident of my ex-girlfriend, when I had dumped her recently, and she clearly couldn't accept "I don't like you" as my position towards her. So here I am on one side of the door trying to get it closed enough to latch, but the door is kind of broken, so I'm not having much luck. And here's my ex-girlfriend trying to bash her way into my room, because I guess she thinks that'll fix our relationship. So my ex-girlfriend is 5'1" and I'm 5'11", right? Obviously I am way bigger than her, but here's the kicker. At the time, she weighed about 173 pounds, and at the time I weighed about 168 pounds. Do you know how hard it is to keep someone who weighs the same as, if not more than you, from busting through your door into your bedroom when they have the lower center of gravity? It is super duper hard. So here's the layout of the area this was all going down in. She was right about here, I'm right about here. She's trying to slam her way into my room when she literally had her own room over here, but she was obsessed with the idea of repairing things with me, so she kept body slamming my door. Finally, I reach out through the crack here in the door, and I push her away from the door so I can close it. She falls to about here, and I know this because I opened back up the door shortly after when she screamed that I was an abuser. There's a door here, there's a door here, here, and here. Her claim is that I pushed her into a door frame. The door frames stick out maybe an inch, so it's not like she clipped a door. And there's no way I could push her into an actual frame, as all these doors were not within range of where she fell. Regardless, I told her I'm calling the cops so they could decide whether or not I'm an abuser. Then they showed up and said, "Leave him alone." And they suggested to me that in the future I should call before having to push someone away from my door. Long story short, I can't exactly tell you when it is and is not okay to hit a girl. Because of variable laws, they change from location to location. I can, however, say that in many areas you have the right to defend yourself, especially if that person's around the same size or could otherwise seriously harm you. But whether we're male or female, we should all do whatever we can to avoid hitting. And if you feel like violence is about to occur, you should dial 911. What I hope I've made clear is that just because a guy hits a girl or a girl hits a guy doesn't make one or the other automatically abusive. Sometimes there's a deeper story going on, and we should all be more honest about our stance on gender equality, where we recognize that a person's size, capability, what they're equipped with, etc. has a lot more to do with whether or not someone's being abused than the sex organs they were born with. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Penises. That's what we're talking about. Specifically, the popular practice in America of taking a blade and slicing off what is said to be the most sensitive part of the penis. So these are supposed to illustrate two different types of penises. This person still has 100% of their penis, which means they're still 100% man. This person has about 75% or more of their penis left. And who else gets part, if not all of their penis removed? That's right, people who do not identify as men. What I just did there was called a
Front of her. But she knew better because she are banned from my house. The person I'm talking about knows who they are, and I'm making this video to remind them and myself why they are not a part of my life. When we first met, you threatened me. You had tears in your eyes as you told me all the horrible things you wanted to do to me. To most reasonable people, that makes you look like a psycho and a violent person. You also threatened me straight to my face that you would be willing to throw me in jail, despite the fact that I literally legally had done nothing wrong. And speaking of dishonesty, the agreement you had with my wife is that you wouldn't be psycho when we first met, and yet you were. You mocked me to my wife after you first met me. Your language clearly trying to humiliate me in front of her. She knew better because she was used to your nonsense. You used to regularly yell at your little girls. My wife told me you once abandoned her toddler sister on the side of the street, driving off without her, just because you were mad at her. Speaking of abandonment, my wife told me you left 2 little girls and their mom, also you could be with their former babysitter. My wife tells me you're a cheater, trying to hide your texts from your former wife. My wife tells me at one point you laid in bed with the mother of 2 of your children, and you're having trouble deciding between your wife and your kid's former babysitter. Shout out to your former
yourself. You're supposed to pick your wife and kids. But surprise, things didn't work out with the babysitter, did it? So now you're left with 2 broken families. But being the relationship genius you clearly think you are, you tried to stop my wife from being with me multiple times. When you didn't want her talking to me when I was away, you at one point disabled your internet so she couldn't Skype me. At one point when she tried to leave the house because you were being awful to her as usual, she tells me you physically assaulted her, grabbing her by the arm and dragging her away from her escape. You are beyond irrational because of many instances throughout your life, but one example is when I texted you, telling you exactly how things were gonna pan out. I told you whether you accepted it or not that I was gonna marry my wife, and that you had to make right with me, as I wasn't going anywhere. But you refused to grow up. You continued to imply that my love for my wife was fake, that I was never going to marry her, and you believed I wouldn't be in your life much longer. When my wife requested her birth certificate so she could marry me, what'd you do? You again refused to cooperate and accept reality. And what happened? She wound up getting a new copy of her birth certificate and marrying me anyway. Out of respect you did not earn, we invited you to our wedding. And what did you do? After all the threats, the lies, and other abusive behavior, you were ear-to-ear smiles. Disgustingly enough, you even called me handsome, as if I want to hear that from you. My wife and I have a child, and what do? You praise the existence of that child. But hypocrite, if you had your way, that child wouldn't exist, because you did so many things to try and stop the marriage from even happening in the first place. Remember when my wife wanted to sell the car that you gave her, and you refused to let her? Because like the manipulator you are, you didn't really give her the car. You kept the car partially in your name, and you did this because again you doubted our relationship. You were so convinced that things would not work out. So you held on to that car for a painful amount of time, just sitting in your driveway, because like a shameful two-way gift giver, you took it back, only to eventually realize my wife was right, and see that once again your doubt in me was misplaced. But let's get to the 2 main reasons why you're banned from my household. You joked to my wife about abducting our son, and having a doctor strap him down so he couldn't move, and forcefully remove a piece of his genitals. You are disgusting. I confronted you via text about your sick joke regarding our son who you claim to love. And you implied something would happen if I confronted you the same way about your sick joke to your face. Once again showing what a violent psycho you really are. And what really sealed the deal for you is after I made a video explaining the hardships my wife and I had to go through just to get married, despite the fact that I didn't even say your name once. I didn't show your image or in any way say specifically who you are. You in response threatened to sue me. What kind of nut job threatens to sue someone who he, by the way, repeatedly said he loved prior? You used to threaten to take away my wife's college tuition if she didn't obey your every command. So I stepped in and I went ahead and paid for the majority of her college for her. That way she no longer had to be your slave for the sake of her getting an education. When my wife and I were hitting a rough patch, you again showed your true colors by trying to give her advice on how to work around our prenuptial agreements so she could steal assets from me she already agreed not to go after if we were to ever separate. But my wife, being the good person she is, she indicated she didn't even ask for the advice in the first place, and she straight up rejected your advice. So here my wife and I are, still together, coming up on our 4-year anniversary. And I hope at this point I've made it clear why you're the only person in my wife's life who is 100% banned from our home. What I would divorce my wife for. As some of you may know, she and I have been married since November of 2012, and a ton of things have gone down in our relationship. But this is not about our past. This is about what could go down in our future. As a lot of you know, if I caught my wife kissing a woman, I would not care whatsoever. Mind you, I'd want the girl that she kissed to be her girlfriend, because her cheating on her current girlfriend would definitely hurt my feelings. Now, if I walked in on her kissing a guy, I would obviously be very upset with her, but I don't think that would call for a divorce. Obviously, sex with her girlfriend's okay, but sex with some random dude, yeah, I'd probably divorce her. But mainly because I would question her judgment. After all, she is a parent, so having sex with a man who is not her kid's father, assuming the father didn't agree to it, would seem a little disloyal. Also, having sex with another man when the father did not agree to it would be selfish for the mother because it could break up the whole family. If I started to realize that my wife was a pathological liar, I would probably divorce her, because no one should have to live with that kind of crazy person. If my wife started punching me in the face whenever she got mad at me, I probably wouldn't divorce her, but I would want her to get therapy ASAP. Now, on the left, we have an adult, and on the right, we have a child. If my wife started hitting our kids, I would definitely divorce her. If my wife was excessively emotionally abusive to our kids, I would also divorce her. In other words, no yelling angrily at our kids, no hitting or violently spanking our kids, and no seriously manipulating our kids. If my wife tried to sadistically torture or otherwise kill our dogs, I would probably divorce her. This is cute little Dobbs, and this is cute little Lilu. I mean, Lilu sucks. That doesn't mean she deserves to die or anything. If it came to my attention I was in a loveless marriage, I would not want to be in that marriage. Or if I found out my wife was super greedy and had the opinion that the things I worked really hard for were magically hers. Greed is actually a driving force as to why I split up with my ex. If my wife made it clear I was super unattractive to her, I'd probably want a divorce. You know, just so she didn't have to suffer being with me anymore. I have this weird thing where if the person I'm with isn't attracted to me, I get turned off. I know, so strange. I actually want people to be into me before I make love to them. If my wife became a drug addict, I would most certainly leave her. If she got a sexually transmitted disease as a result of her being disloyal, I would most certainly leave her. If she went crazy, went to a sperm bank and got pregnant with some random person's baby, yeah, I'd probably leave her. If she just generally lost her mind or she had to be institutionalized, I wouldn't necessarily divorce her. I'd probably wait it out a few years to see if she got any better. If she went to a coma or died, I would actually probably always consider her my wife. Because, you know, you just can't divorce dead people or people in comas. It's like wrong, right? If she stopped taking showers, yeah, gross. You have to leave a person like that. If she always took the side of her pets over me, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what my ex did. Seriously, if my wife would act like she cared more about our dogs than me, yeah, no, that's a divorce. If my wife voted against gay marriage, I would divorce her as fast as I could. As many of you know, eating meat kills the planet, kills yourself, and obviously kills animals, but if my wife started eating a lot of animals, I probably wouldn't divorce her, but I would question her intelligence. If it turned out my wife was full lesbian, for the sake of her being able to marry a woman, I would agree to a divorce. Mind you, that would make me super sad. If my wife got a sex change, I would not divorce her. There's not much more to say about that. I just don't think a sex change is a reason to leave someone. And of course, there are many more reasons to leave a person, but now you know quite a few reasons why I would divorce my wife.